I don't even know how to explain it, but I would write poetry and it came out really dark. And my grandma got really concerned and was like, I think she needs to go to therapy. But in my mind, I was like some of this, I don't want to repeat all of it, but it was like, I feel nothing, I see nothing, I am nothing. This world is terrible. Like it wasn't bright. And so, but it was weird because it was like that was coming out of me, but it was from this place of like having been connected to something so much more loving and beautiful before. And I had this like very intrinsic, like, this is not my planet. Like, how did I get here?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Eric Taylor, Big E Astrology, back again with another amazing podcast with a super special guest on episode 247. Today, my guest is a Kolbe consultant, PSYCH-K practitioner, and a human design specialist. I mean, she does it all, working with the subconscious mind. I present to you today Miss Victoria Richardson. Hi, Victoria. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. I'm so excited. This has been a long time coming, so I'm glad you texted me. You're like, we're doing it on this day.
Yeah, I know, right? I had to pin down the Pisces, you guys, because I'll just get right into the astrology because Victoria is down like that. She is the Pisces Sun Aries Moon and the Aquarius Rising. Okay, so that explains a lot. But I want to know I just said some things that I don't even know what they are. Let's start with the PSYCH-K. Explain that system, what it is, and how you use it in your program working with your clients.
Yeah, so that's my primary go-to because it's the simplest, fastest, most effective way to kind of get a backdoor into the subconscious system, which the subconscious rules 95% of our being, our doing, our acting, our reacting, our thoughts, our behaviors. And so I don't know if this is in my astrology, but I'm a little bit impatient and I like to be a little bit in control. And so
wait. You said the key word. Of course, you're an Aries moon, Aries, Venus, and Mars. Patience is not your forte, my friend.
No, I try really hard. It just doesn't, sometimes I'm just like, let's fucking go. So I hope I'm allowed to cuss. I didn't even ask you.
It's okay.
But essentially, I was down the rabbit hole of like learning everything I could. I had a very difficult relationship in my life that was not going to not be a part of my life unless I, got divorced. So I didn't want that. And I felt just rageful and irritated and I didn't want to feel that way. And so I went down the rabbit holes of podcasts and courses and, human design and astrology and Enneagrams and anything that I could freaking get my hands on to understand myself and other people. But it still didn't help me feel better. And then I went to 3 years of therapy. Still didn't help me feel better. And then I found a PSYCH-K facilitator and I booked a call. I did my first session and I felt an immense sense of just peaceful relief. And it was like what I sought out for 3 years, I got in one session. And I called her and I said, I don't know what the fuck just happened. But I would be happy just if this was my only session, like, cause that was something that I had been working on for 3 years. And so I did several more sessions. Obviously I did an intensive with her. I eventually got my own certification. I went through level 1 and level 2 so I could practice with others. And so that's my primary source of, practice. And really what it does is it gives us a conscious way to talk to the subconscious using muscle testing and body posture. We essentially turn on more brain capacity to create a new neural network and change perceptions and create new beliefs and really have a felt sense of control and power and empowerment and, all of the things we want to feel about our lives.
Now, is this something you have to do in person or can you do this over Zoom and the internet?
Yeah, no, I have clients all over the world. I have clients in Lisbon and France and Australia.
That's awesome.
So
okay.
yeah,
the muscle testing, how does that translate through the computer?
Great question. So we are all connected through universal consciousness.
Yes.
And essentially what I do is like a silent prayer and get permission from your higher self, permission from my higher self to be that surrogate since I'm not with you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like spirituality meets practicality. And
My favorite combo.
it's so great. And I, all my clients are like, whoa, like this seems like magic. I know that it's like based in science and quantum physics, but like it feels magical because you really truly do, your whole inner landscape changes. And so, yeah, that's my primary kind of go-to. And then I use several different things that go with the subconscious and conscious awareness and energetics and things like that.
That is so fascinating. So in some ways that sort of saved you as a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
And kind of, now, when would you say that you kind of had some sort of awakening to get out of this sort of 3D programming matrix system? Do you know the date? Was it just over time? Was it something like very like specific and like shocking to a Pisces? Or have you always been sort of more on the spiritual lane?
Well, I've always been on the spiritual lane. I think I came out being like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like what's going on around here? But I had several different kind of relationship circumstances that really kind of culminated. Well, it was relationships and work, and it all kind of culminated in 2019. And that's when it felt like my whole foundation was rocked. And that kind of started, I would say, well, I guess in that point I was already in therapy for some things. So it's probably like when was my son born? 2015. It was probably 2017 that things started to get a little uncomfortable. He was 2. He's wired very differently than me. My husband and I came from very different schools of parenting.
Right.
I didn't have that language to understand what I wanted to parent like. And so it was a challenge to try to co-parent in a way that I felt was empowering to my oldest, who was 2 at the time. And so we went through parenting courses and things like that. That's when I found human design and dabbled in it a bit. And then, it was kind of through an evolution of relationships and cosmic 2x4s and just feeling stuck. And, I actually very much remember standing in my kitchen. It was a January of 2021. And my husband wanted to go down to Mexico. And I said, over my dead body, I'm not going to be trapped in Mexico. And
during COVID and lockdowns, like I don't even understand. Why would he want to go?
It was at the time I had a very difficult relationship with his parents, and that was one of those things where I didn't want to have a difficult relationship with his parents, but I did, and I couldn't figure out a way to feel fine about it. And he wanted to go down to their place and stay with them. Okay. And for me, that felt like it felt like an entrapment, but it also felt like a betrayal for him to ask me to do it when he knows that I'm not emotionally capable. And that day he said, I need you to figure this out. This is really important to me. I want to be able to bring our kids down there and spend time with my parents and all this stuff. And I wanted that for him. And I got in a car and popped on a human design podcast and found my coach. And so it's like the universe delivers you who you need when you need it.
Yeah, the guru comes when you need them.
And I made it 2 stoplights, pulled over my car and called her because I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I had no idea what the subconscious system was. All I knew was that the felt sense of relief is what I was looking for. And that's what she was talking about. And so that really, perpetuated this kind of cycle of growth and evolution and stepping into my truth and stepping into my power and really enabling myself to come to peace and non-attachment about the things that were really troubling me and to connect to my higher purpose. And to go back to your question, I think I've always been on that path, but I was forced to kind of be in certain circumstances that were lessons to get me catapulted to the next level, I'll say.
Well, yeah, and everything is about experiences
Mhm.
and we are sometimes guided, right, by our spirit guides or the ancestors, and we don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes. And so I know that you have definitely been in the, more business and corporate and 3D world, but I want to figure out or take you back to who was young Victoria, let's say like around 10 years old, and could she have ever imagined all that you're doing and who you are today?
That's fun to think about. 10-year-old me. So 9-year-old me
Okay.
went to my mom with evidence of my dad not being so monogamous.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and so there's always been this part of me that has told people how they should be should be living.
Well, okay. So that's the Pisces second house, right? It's your speech, right? Your values, and
Yeah.
Pisces is like, hey, you know, it's the grandma, grandpa of the chart, and you were probably like, Ma, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Something
Like I
smells
don't know what
fishy.
normal is, but this isn't it. Like so
That is so wild. Okay.
yeah. So that energy of directing others, telling others, seeing the best in others,
Yeah.
and encouraging them to step into their own power has always been a part of my energy.
Yeah.
The lesson in it was that I shouldn't necessarily do that to people who aren't asking me to. So now I have a career where people pay me for my advice.
So you found a way to filter, and then now it's like, you get to do it, but you get to do it for people who want you to
Yeah,
actually
like
do it
they're
for them.
seeking me out and scheduling appointments with me. So
Right, right. But growing up, like, what was the dream? Were you
wow.
were you very focused on like business or anything
No.
creative, or like what was your passion?
I really was just very present in all the moments, and I really truly was like I was an adult, but I was a kid, It's like I rode my banana seat bike and I rollerbladed and I had my boom box and I made mixtapes and I, like had amazing friends and practiced, witchcraft and like, normal things. Um
Oh,
almost got kicked out of summer camp because I was doing Bloody Mary in the bathroom. I don't know. So
oh
like
my gosh.
I made up, numerology and I got really into for some reason it like made sense to me numerology and I didn't even know that what it was. My parents didn't know what it was, but I was making up numerology as a child and um I think looking back on it, I never really had like a career ambition. Like I was always Monica with 3 kids. Like if we were playing, I was like Monica with 3 kids. I always wanted to be a mom. I think ultimately I just wanted to like fly around and bop around and talk to people all day. Like that's really what I wanted
Well,
to
okay, so now that's funny as you say that, because I know with the Pisces energy, my wife is a Pisces
do. Yeah.
like you, and you guys, you're not always here,
No.
right? You're kind of in the ethers, right? Pisces need to be more grounded. And so, as a young girl, did you sense that you were kind of different from others? Did you have a lot of visions and dreams? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it, but I would write poetry and it came out really dark. Um, and my grandma got really concerned and was like, I think she needs to go to therapy. But in my mind, I was like some of this, I don't want to repeat all of it, but it was like, I feel nothing, I see nothing, I am nothing. This world is terrible. Like it was it wasn't bright. And
Oh,
so,
man.
but it was weird because it was like that was coming out of me, but it was from this place of like having been connected to something so much more loving and beautiful before. And I had this like very intrinsic, like, this is not my planet. Like, how did I get here? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, with Uranus and Scorpio in the 11th house, and Neptune, I mean, and Uranus and Sagittarius in the 11th house, and Neptune and Capricorn, that is the evolution of your soul. Uranus is the spiritual awakener. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So now, did you grow up with any organized religion that you felt that you had to break, like, like strict Catholic, or like,
No.
how were you raised?
So my mom is Ashkenazi Jewish, and
Okay.
she converted to Christianity when she was in fourth grade because my my great grandma and grandmother came over from Austria.
Mm.
And when my grandparents got married, uh, my mom went to school and kind of got bullied for being Jewish and
Oh.
called names, and so she really gravitated. And she thought she saw Jesus Christ one day in her room, which she probably did. But she kind of gravitated toward the Christianity and things like that. So when I came around, she had already converted to Christianity. My dad really didn't practice much. We would go to church because my mom liked church. And then I chose to be baptized Baptist. And then I went to a sleepaway camp.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I got to get the fuck out of here. So I ran into the woods for a couple hours and they couldn't find me.
Now, was this a Christian camp?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
people were like ringing bells and like moving as a group. And it made me feel very like I could almost see like their free thought had left their bodies. And that freaked
Mm.
me out a bit. And so since then I've tried several different, churches. I haven't had great experiences. I feel like many of them are unfortunately hypocritical, and I just prefer to live in a world that is of love and acceptance and things that Jesus taught.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, yeah, I wouldn't say that I was, I chose to be baptized Baptist, but that sweepaway camp, it was really like, I can't do that. So it wasn't like a big deconstruction process or anything like that. It was more so like, I'm never going back there.
Well, okay. So two placements that I think are fascinating in your chart that sort of speak to a lot of things that we've already mentioned. Victoria, you guys, has the Jupiter on the ascendant in Aquarius. So one, I mean, you could marry someone that's like a numerologist or professional astrologer, but I know your husband isn't that.
No.
But you could marry someone, like Jupiter and Aquarius itself for you. It's like when you have Jupiter on the ascendant, you want to share your knowledge, your wisdom, beliefs, and philosophies. And it being in Aquarius, it's about all the stuff that you do and totally about the esoteric and occult knowledge. So
Yeah.
that's really a fascinating placement. And Pluto will be there November 19th till 2044 for the next 20 years of your life.
Yeah.
So as the young kids say nowadays, Victoria is going to have like a serious transformational glow up coming for the next 20 years. So that's kind of cool. But I wanted to get into, the Kolbe and find out about that, because with your Neptune and Capricorn in the 12th house, it's literally like you tapping into the subconscious mind and being this, someone that has a spiritual business, helping people to reprogram. And that's like, even what I would advise you, that's like your hidden talent. And Neptune, Capricorn, 12th house, it's like that, like you're doing the daggone thing. So what is the Kolbe system and technique and consulting, and how do you use it with your clients?
So it's really fun. So the Kolbe is something that's been kind of scientifically studied and third-party validated. And so it's a really simple, the way that I would describe it is it kind of simplifies communication between everybody.
Okay.
And what it does is you take like a 20-minute assessment, but essentially it's looking for pattern recognition and how you problem solve. So we all have these innate or subconscious programs how we run, right? So Kolbe's looking at how you problem solve. It's saying when you are faced with a problem and you need to create a solution, what do you do? And how do you go about it? And how much energy are you expending in these 4 different categories? And so the 4 categories are fact finding, which is how you gather and share information, and everything is on a scale from 1 to 10.
Okay.
The next one is follow through. So this is all about creating systems, charts, graphs, things like that, organizational things.
Right.
Quick start is how you deal with risk and uncertainty. So you have the people like me who are highly innovative and just disruptive and change for change's sake, or you have the people that are trying to like stabilize change and they're like, whoa, 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 why are you coming out with me? Like all these ideas, like they're not even practical, right? um, and so learning the Kolbe for us, like at our company at the time, was like, because it illuminated why people were having so much stress between each other, right? And
Right,
then
right.
the last column is implementer, which is really about demonstration. It's how you deal with 3D space intangibles. And so after this 20-minute assessment, you get 4 numbers. So for instance, mine's 5491. I initiate in quick start. And so there's a cute little chart that I do for teams. I do leadership development, where it plots everybody on their strengths. And so everything is a strength in Kolbe, which I love. I love thinking about things as everyone has their own unique gifts, talents, and strengths. And so Kolbe just kind of illuminates that subconscious problem solving process for everybody and simplifies how you can communicate between the different types of people. And so I like using it as a good benchmark, because some of the people that are not as like, give me your birth date and time and location, that are like, I have a hobby and it's collecting charts. So it gives them a step into understanding that we all have ingrained patterns. And that pattern happens to be how you problem solve.
Right.
And when you can illuminate a subconscious pattern and you can see your strengths, you're no longer kind of limited by other people's perception of you.
And that really throws people off trying to sort of people please,
yeah,
or align with boxes or other people's visions of you.
yeah.
And that can happen with parents, children, spouses, friends, everyone.
Yeah.
That's
So
powerful.
it gives us, Kathy Kolbe is the founder and the theorist. And she has this saying that, freedom is true success is the freedom to be yourself. And through her assessments, through her ability to create this solution for the world, it's really helped a lot of people step into their magic and create less stress in their lives. And from a leadership perspective, I work with leaders who sometimes they're very on different ends of the spectrum, and that causes a lot of tension and stress. And many times, I had a leader say to me privately before we did a session, like, I don't know what to do because I'm really at conflict with this person. And I was like, well, our session's going to address that. And you're going to see how you can start to work together and leverage each other's strengths rather than feeling like it's, it removes the emotion out of it.
Right. And not look for the conflict, because
Yes.
sometimes, right, if we have a preconceived notion, we're kind of looking for these aha, yep, I got you, like,
I
prove
told you.
it. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful that can, alleviate some of that. So I want to ask you this, because I find this to be kind of fascinating. So Victoria, you guys, and before we even get, because I'm going to jump into your Taurus North Node, but before we go there, we'll do it again at the end, but share with everybody your website and your social medias and the best way for people to contact you, whether it's for the Kolbe, PSYCH-K, or, as we'll get into soon, the human design. Share with everybody your contact information.
Yeah, so I'm therapidrenegade.com, the Rapid Renegade on Instagram, the Rapid Renegade on TikTok, and the Rapid Renegade at gmail.com. So, the Rapid Renegade all the way around.
I love the branding. There you go. Keep it simple. And it's so funny. That is like Aries, Moon, Venus, Mars, the Pisces, Sun and Mercury, and the Jupiter Aquarius. Yeah, I like that. The Rapid Renegade. It kind of puts it all in a nice, clean package that really does represent you.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay, so before we get to the human design, because I want to get on that and kind of explore, because Victoria is going to do, and I'll just say, we're both happily married, but Victoria is going to explain her human design with mine, and then how that would look in potential, let's say, relationship, in terms of how people can connect or work together or different things. So I think that'd be fascinating. But the Taurus North Node, So congratulations, because you are now officially doing all that you do full time and no more 3D matrix job. And the Taurus North Node really speaks to that. In the fourth house, working from home and using your throat chakra and helping people with their self-worth, their values, their finances, but even like you said, the muscle testing. Taurus is the physical body. So,
I never thought about that.
yes, isn't that crazy?
I love that.
Yeah. So, have you ever felt that your throat chakra was closed? And if so, how long has it been open? Or I guess in some ways that you've kind of shared, maybe it's always been open for you. But how does that Taurus North Node in the fourth house resonate for you now going forward in terms of literally your career from working from home?
Yeah, I think, more so, I think it's always been open, and I've had to learn discernment on how to use it. And and this is also part of my human design. I really don't necessarily, I don't really, well, it's part of my human design, but it's also part of my belief system. I really don't care what most people think about me.
That's good.
Yeah.
And guess what? Some human beings don't get to that place until age 50.
Right.
So you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, I've never really cared. Like I have a little sister. She's 7 years younger than me, and she'd come home, and I'm like, why the fuck do you care what they think? Like I just never really understood. I think it's because I know why I'm here on the planet, and I'm like, this is a waste of time. I'm not going to do that. But to answer your question, it's funny because I've never really worked at home. 2020 was the first time that I really was home by myself in my own energy my whole life. And so that was a really interesting time to just understand like what energy is actually mine and what am I tapping into with other people. Right. I live in a house with 2 generators, so it's a lot of energy. My youngest is a reflector, so it's very different, when I'm just with him or when I'm with the whole family and whatnot. But it was recently, probably beginning of this year, that I converted one of our bedrooms into a home office because I kind of had a desk in the, the living space, but I was like, I need somewhere where I can just be and
to go to, like it is an office. Yeah.
It is an office. Yeah. And it has all my books and it has all my stuff. And it feels really good to work in there. And then I have clients come over and I have a chair for them. And so it's this really kind of nurturing, creative space. It's also our art studio. And so it's something that, I don't know, it's a really beautiful space that I love being in. But to answer your question about the throat chakra, I am somebody who's designed to speak on behalf of myself. So the biggest lesson with me in my human design was like, oh, I can't talk on behalf of other people because it goes really poorly. And so when I learned that about my human design, that really shifted the way that I communicate and the way that I coach others, right?
Okay, so wait. Let me pause you there because somebody may be watching this, and I have had human design practitioners or specialists on before. But if it's someone's first time, number one, what is your human design? And then we'll connect it with me and you. But explain the system itself. Just not the long, more of the shorter version. But explain what is human design.
The shortest version is that it's kind of your energetic schematic blueprint. It shows you kind of how you're supposed to show up in the world, strategies to make your life a little bit simpler. It shows you maybe areas of conditioning or areas of gifts and strengths. It's kind of a collaboration of Eastern, Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Kabbalah tree of life, quantum physics, and other things. So
and that's such a great mix.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And isn't it also reading like your aura and your auric field?
Yeah. So there's 5 different types in human design, and basically that's the aura. That's how your energy is perceived. Okay. And so learning your type is really important, especially because like I'm a projector, and I would say certain things I would feel like I offended someone's soul. But then, you know, Eric, you would come in and say the same shit, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, great idea." And it's like,
And then you're sitting in the corner pissed off.
yeah,
Okay, wait. So explain the 5 types, and then we'll get into like both of ours and stuff.
yeah. Okay, so about 8% of the population are manifestors. So like anything else, human design has its own language, right? So when we hear manifestors, it's like we're all manifestors, right? We all manifest. It's
Yeah.
not the same thing. It's the way their auric field works. And so the manifestors are the fire starters. They are big and their energy is bold and repelling. They don't have a natural source of energy, and so they kind of have these big, expressive, creative cycles, and then big areas of rest, and then big bursts of energy, and then
I
rest.
think my wife is a manifesto. Yeah.
Is she? Oh, creative.
Yeah.
And a Pisces. That's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like
So
so talented. Yeah.
yeah, and so their energy really works for them because they don't have that sustainable energy, and so their energy will they walk into the room and people notice. You know, they affect everybody, and so their strategy is
But when
to
they need a nap, they need a nap.
oh, it's like, and if you don't let them have a nap, that bolt of rage of anger
Oh yeah, that's my wife.
directed right at you.
We have a saying, right? She's the bunny and I'm the bear, and she's like the bunny's hitting the wall. Like when she's got to go to bed at night, it is like a panic to the bed. Lights are
Yeah.
off. Turn off the lights. And I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to finish up work. I got to go to bed. You know, it's like it's instant. It's now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so their strategy is to inform, right? So she's informing you like, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. This is what I need. They have to narrate their life out loud. And then sometimes it doesn't come off naturally to them because they're like, why the fuck do you care what I'm up to? Like, I don't care what you're doing. Like, just leave me alone. You know, like they're very kind of like, whatever, just get out of my space. And so they're really here to initiate all of us into action. They're here to have new and creative ideas. That quote always comes to mind of, if I asked people what they wanted, you know, they would have said a faster horse, but they created a car, right? That's the manifestor. It's like the iPod.
And that's 8%.
Yeah.
Okay.
8%. Then you have 70% of the population, which are the energy types. So this is manifesting generators and generators. They have that defined sacral, that gut response, that ooh or ugh.
Right. And that's where I come in as the generator. I'm a 1-3 generator. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you guys are warm and enveloping. Everybody wants to be around you. It's like you're just like, you know, the fun party bus. It's like everybody kind of just wants to be around those manifesting generators and generators. And the problem with that is that other people can use your energy, right? So it's like you can kind of get in this trap of doing things for other people, which is really important that you don't. You really listen to what is lighting me up. And for somebody like me, I'm a projector. That's 22% of the population. I don't have that defined sacral. So what I do is I tap in and I amplify your energy. And so if we have a bunch of 70% of the population is doing things they don't want to do, that depletion of energy is something that I'm tapping into and I'm amplifying, right? So it's almost like I tell all my generators and sacral beings that you not only have a responsibility to your own health and happiness by honoring your sacral, but you also have an energy that other people rely on. And so you almost have this social responsibility that you need to do things that light you up, and generators are more focused and kind of in their lane, like you, right? It's like, I do this and this is what I'm really good at, and I carve out a lane, and you're kind of on fire with it. My husband, same thing. He's in forestry, right? He's never going to not probably be in forestry. Manifesting generators are like all over the fucking place, and they seem like they have ADD, but really their energy is meant to kind of be dispersed through many things. And it's okay for you to put things down that no longer excite you, right? I mean, a lot of manifesting generators that are like, well, I was really excited about it and I should finish it, right? And going back to the kind of the subconscious system is, whenever you're shooting on yourself, just kind of be aware and say, like, do I need to do this? Right? Like, I have a great exercise that came from my Kolbe coaching, which is this commitment clarifier. It's like, what do you need to do? Because you are the only one that can do it. What can you delegate? What can you delete? And I think for a manifesting generator, you need to just inform people when you're not inspired anymore and just let it be. And it's really an invitation for other people to pick it up, right? We're in a relay race here. It's not, you don't need to finish everything you start.
Okay, so that's fascinating. Real quick, so would you say being your true authentic self, which is the highest frequency, that's important for everyone, but is it extra important the way I'm hearing it for generators?
I think it's extra important for everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if you were going to say, like, for anyone with a defined sacral, I think it's extra important just because, people like myself, 22% of the population rely on you and your energy, right? We tap in and we amplify that energy to make.
And so if we're being authentic, then our energy is kind of not misguided, but very narrowly focused on what our assignment or mission is. Yeah. So that's why I was asking that, because I could see where you got to show up and be you. For generators trying to be somebody else, that could get real messy.
Yeah. And for the generator, your not self theme is frustration, right? So it's like whenever you feel really frustrated, it's important to just understand that that's a check engine light to say, like, do I need to change something? Do I need to shift? Do I need to take a step back? Do I need to, because a lot of the frustration comes because you guys are always on the path to mastery.
Yes.
And it's like you, especially as a 1-3, like you have, when you are trying to master something, you have tunnel vision, and it's like you're just in your own shit, making messes for everybody else, and everybody else is having to kind of like clean up your shit. But really, it's life by experiment as a 1-3, and you're deeply knowledgeable. And then as a generator, it's like you have to feel lit up by what you're sharing with others. You're sharing that knowledge. You're showing that you can experiment. You're making it for other people. Your gift is really like, you don't have to take life so seriously, and it can be playful and it can be fun, and it's okay to make mistakes. Right. So you as a 1-3, that's really the energy of the 1-3. Like nothing is really a failure. It's all a lesson, or it's okay. And for that generator, it's finding your lane and removing all of the clutter that might prevent you from not pursuing that passion, from pursuing that mission, from pursuing what lights you up. Because which is why I go to the subconscious system. It's like all of these systems are so great to show you who you're designed to be. But then we have life and circumstances and your parents and all of the expectations on top of you that are like, you should be a lawyer. And you're like, but I want to be an astrologer. So it's
oh God, and definitely with all my Virgo energy, I used to contemplate doing law school. I thought about law and being a chiropractor.
See?
When I was younger. So it's funny, but like I just, and then I became a professional actor. So, so that's kind of funny. And then, so now there's one more, the reflector.
The reflector, is 1% of the population.
Wow.
So,
and you have one. You said your son or your daughter?
Yeah, I feel so lucky.
It's your son or your daughter?
I have 2 boys.
Oh, so 2 boys. Sorry. Okay. So it's your son. Okay.
They're like the social barometers. You can always tell the health of an environment, a family, a circumstance, a business, a classroom based on how they're showing up. And it's been really interesting watching him, because he mirrors back to you who you are. And so if you're not in a healthy spot, you're not going to like what he says so much.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is.
Especially in family dynamics. Now, do you do like family readings for people?
I have. It's not a primary kind of thing, but I definitely, a lot of my clients, I work with mostly women and moms.
Right.
A lot of them are divorced. And so I'll do family charts for them. I'll give them kind of perspectives and parenting guides when it comes to their children, because a lot of them want to create these
healthy
right? And they want to understand how they can support their child in the best way possible. And so I'll give them, just, you don't need to know everything about human design, but it helps to know, my son is a lot like you, a 1-3 emotional generator, and I need to give him some time to make decisions. I need to let him experiment with it. I need to give him yes, no questions, one thing at a time, right? So it's these little things that we can do. And when I learned his design, I was like, oh, if I just set up a space where he can just experiment with shit and just make science experiments and like hopefully not burn the house down, like that fills his soul, right? Like my only job is to make sure he doesn't burn the house down.
Right. No, but that's powerful, right? Because just like the natal birth chart, like I love working with parents and their kids, because systems like human design and astrology, and I'm sure even the other stuff that you do, it can really help you literally become a better parent.
Yeah.
Because when you understand how the young child, this young, this soul, right, needs to be nourished and experience life, then you're not trying to make them be a square when they're here as a triangle.
Right.
And so that's very important. And I can imagine, parents and, like you said, mainly the mothers coming to you. That's really beautiful. So, okay, so now let's kind of segue. I want to, because I just think it's important to give that example. So now what is your projector? And then I'm the 1-3 generator, and sort of explain like how Eric and Victoria would work together and what would be the challenges, the easy flows. So share that with the audience, because I think that's really powerful and important for people to learn.
Yeah. So a few things. So when I work with leaders, because this isn't just in romantic relationships.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like when we are in working relationship or we are in 6 feet of one another, our energies are, it's like the ripple, right? We affect each other. And so, I did a Kolbe human design session for a couple leaders a couple weeks ago, because their Kolbes are exactly the same. And their friction really wasn't coming from the way that they problem solve. It was actually coming from their energetics and how their intuition works. And so I like to use all these systems together, because it just gives us a different angle and a different lens on what is actually going on and what is the root cause of this stress and tension. So is it a limiting belief? Is it a difference in your energetics? Is it a difference in the way that you problem solve? So I like to go through a high level assessment of all of it, because I don't think it's one thing, right?
Yeah,
like I can't give you the advice if I don't know what I'm working with. And so when I pulled your and my chart, when you pull a couple chart, we'll just say pretend we're business partners, right?
And what are you again?
I'm a 4-1 splenic projector.
Okay, and I'm a 1-3 what type of generator?
Emotional generator, I believe.
Okay. So 4-1 projector with a 1-3 generator.
Yeah. So speaking of the emotional versus the splenic, right?
Yeah. Because I don't know I've learned a little bit about the emotional, but I don't know too much about the splenic.
Yeah. So the emotional part, they need clarity over time. They need to feel into, every 3 times a day or every a couple days, like overall, do I feel good about this and expansive, or overall, does it feel kind of like, ugh, or am I kind of indifferent, right? That's a timing issue. And so for me, as a splenic person who is intuitive and it hits and it never talks again, I look really impulsive to people. Like I just know things. It's like, I don't know how, I can't explain it. I didn't gather evidence. I didn't sleep on it. I don't need to. So you can see if we're working in relationship with each other, if I'm just like, doop, and you go, whoa. Like, let's feel it out, right? Like I have to give so much space to an emotional person, because that's not my process. And so,
and then I'm sort of that investigator, right? So the 1-3. So I'm thinking like, did you research or did you? And you're like, no, I just know.
Yeah. Well, there's components of this, right?
Okay.
So if you look at, we're both a line 1. I'm a 4-1, you're a 1-3. So you have it on the opposite side of me.
Okay.
But you and I are insatiably curious about things that we want to know about. It's like, we have to know everything there is to know, which is why I go down so many fucking rabbit holes of subconscious systems, right? It's like, I need to know everything there is.
Yeah.
And so it's not about, I don't need to know everything there is about everything. I'm not researching like, I'm not going to buy a pair of shoes on Amazon and read all the reviews, right? So that's where the Kolbe comes in. Like the Kolbe, for somebody who is a high fact finder, they may have a line 1 and a fact finder. And so they are going to be researching all the time about everything and anything to make a decision.
So you'd have to see my Kolbe to see that I like to research, but maybe it's only about what lights me up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're constantly kind of in that, like, when is enough research to jumping in, right? Like, I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to play around with it. And then I might go back to research. So you're kind of playing between research and learn by experiment, right?
Well, yeah. Experience is a big thing for me. And I think of that with all my Virgo energy, Cat Moon and Scorpio Rising. I feel like you just got to get in the mud and get dirty, you know, and kind of like.
You're deeply knowledgeable, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have all this library of information in the back of your brain. And so for a line 1 in human design, it's important to invest money into books and into courses and not feel like you have to have all the certifications in order to be an expert. That's
right. No, definitely not.
Because as a line 1, we feel like we're almost not in authority until someone else tells us we are, even though that's just our natural energy. We're authority energy. And so it's flipping, I'm an authority or I'm an expert into I'm a contributor. What can I contribute to the collective that I know a lot about? Because you know 99.9% more than most people about astrology, right? It's like, how can I contribute this in a meaningful way? And the same goes for me. It's like, I know so much about so much, but how do I make that really concise and clear for people and help guide people through this process so they don't have to do years and 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 years of research?
Yeah, Victoria, you're hilarious. So wait, so then with our sort of opposite ones, and then sort of the 3 and the 4, how, like, if we were working on a project and we're presenting a combo platter of, let's just say, the human design and the astrology, or the PSYCH-K and astrology, how would that kind of play out based on the 3-4 and the 1-1?
So the ones are bringing their expertise.
Okay.
Right? You're going to be experimenting with maybe how to market it. You're going to be kind of just like out and about, just whatever. Me as a line 4, I'm going to be using my network. I'm going to be saying, where can we show up? Who can we gather? Right? I'm like the social networker, the opportunist. I'm going to connect you with other
people. The 4 line. The 4 is like that.
4 is like, I'm going to connect you, Eric, with this person and that person and this person, because
cool,
this is, and as a projector, you know, I'm also kind of the orchestrator of the, you know, orchestra. And so it's like, oh, I see that you play the tambourine. I see you play the drums. I see you play the guitar, and I'm gonna put all of you together so you can.
So you like to coordinate. You're the coordinator.
I'm a coordinator.
The mushroom belt and the mushroom shirt.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. So wait, so then as that the 4-1, you would kind of maybe help me to network my gifts to the collective and present it to like the right room.
Right. And then I would use you when I have a new idea and I haven't really got all the kinks out of it, but I want you to experiment with what works. Because you're going to be somebody I could leverage. I always call my line 3s when I have an idea. I'm like, do you want to try this? And they're all like, yeah, why not? You know, because they just want to experiment with shit. And it's like all of the people. So when I think of, you know, how I've made my business, it's like, hey, I have this idea. And if a line 3 is like, meh, I'm like, that wasn't a good idea. So it's like, I use those line 3s to say, where are my good ideas? And then do you want to practice with me? And can you give me feedback on how that experience was so I can make it better? Your gift as a line 1-3 is like, you tear shit down because it doesn't work anymore. And you're really rebuilding it from a way of stability and longevity. And so if we're working together, me knowing you're a 3, like I'm like, hey, Eric, will you, I want to do this session. What do you think about it? Do you want to try, blah, blah, blah. And then I would be able to use that intelligence that you innately have to make myself better. Whereas you can use my intelligence and my networking to be like, what could I do to show up, in the world? And do you have ideas of how I could market myself? And
Right.
do you have any connections that you think you could help me make to bring my gifts to life, right? So it's a really powerful combination when you understand each other.
Right. No, like, yeah, we could take over the world, girl.
Let's do it.
So let me ask you a question about that. So just like how I would do a synastry compatibility chart in astrology, which I explained could be for two friends, business partners, a marriage, relationship, couples, siblings, parent, child, right? Are there lines or numbers or reflector, projector? Are there some that work better together compared to some that like they'll just be oil and water and they just really cannot work together? Like, because like for me in the birth chart, I will tell people, number one, you don't base relationships on sun sign astrology. That's like the sixth or seventh thing I would look at.
Yeah.
But I let people know what I'm explaining to you are the aspects. And so I think any two humans can work together in a relationship. I'm just going to clarify for you the pressure points where subconsciously or unconsciously, your Neptune and Capricorn could be hitting my moon. And I may be like, oh, I want to work hard, discipline, structure. And you're like Neptune and Capricorn. It's like, I just want to intuitively tap in. I don't want to, it's not about hard work, Eric. You know what I mean? So it's just like teaching the two energies and the two people, how they work together. How do you view that, or how does that play out in the human design connections or partnerships or relationships?
Super similarly, right? Yes, you're going to have, for instance, we both experience the line 1. So we're going to have a conscious connection on that energy, right?
Okay.
And so we're going to, you'll find that a lot of your friends probably have a similar profile number to you. It's more in the profiles than it is really the energy. And so, but that being said, my husband is a 3-5 pure generator. I'm a 4-1 splenic projector. We share none of the same profile or type or authority. And so, but we do share the channel of struggle, which has been a struggle. And but it wasn't until I learned human design, because to your point, like I just needed to understand the pressure points. I needed to understand how to work with him instead of against him. And so for me, like I took a step back because my husband it was like, I just wanted us to plan so that I don't have to think about it like fall break and summer. Like I don't want to have to figure out what we're going to do. Right. And so year after year, I was like, are we going to do anything for fall break? Are we going to do anything for fall break? And so finally I just stopped doing it because I took a step back and said, what would I coach my client on? If she came to me with this profile and this energy of her husband, how would I tell her to communicate? And I would say, as a 3-5 pure generator, as my husband was let him bump into life. That's the line 3. And let him find the solution. That's the line 5. Don't tell him it's going to be a problem. Let him bump into the problem. So I didn't plan anything.
So then he would make the adjustments or changes for himself.
Yes, because he has to do it himself.
Yeah.
I know all day long that
Is that more of the 5 or more of the 3?
That's the 5. The 5 needs to come up with their own solutions.
Right.
The line 3 is always bumping into life and like kind of experimenting with things, and life is always hitting them. So for him being a 3-5, it was like life had to hit him and then he had to find the solution and he had to implement that solution for the family. Because the 5 is about creating solutions for the masses. And so I didn't plan anything. And he was like, fall break's coming. What are we doing? And I was like, I didn't plan anything. We have to like co-parent during it. And he was like, what? Life hitting him in the face, right? And then ever since this was probably 2 years ago, He puts every single thing on our calendar. He marks everything down. I have all my practices. I have everything that I need on our calendar because he was faced with that problem and he gave us the solution.
That's wonderful. Wow.
And no amount of nagging and asking and pressuring was going to get him there. He had to hit with the problem himself.
So you use the modality as a tool to improve something practical in your daily life, in your marriage, for your entire family. Now, that is something that I know that everyone can benefit from. And this is why I have this amazing woman on today, Victoria, because you guys need to book sessions with her and then that same thing, you can apply the Kolbe and the PSYCH-K to even make it a deeper understanding and connection as well, right?
Yeah. Well, and so the PSYCH-K especially, right? So for me, it can be really frustrating being in a partnership where you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, you don't feel listened to. You have all these stories, right? And so the PSYCH-K just brings it to peace and non-attachment. And then the human design gives you a conscious perspective and a strategy of how to move forward. It's like, let's get you to a peaceful state. It's not about you. It's not about your limitations and your beliefs and your stories. It's just that you didn't know how to communicate with this person in an effective way. You didn't understand what they need in order to move forward in their process.
And we kind of need those tools. So, okay, so let's just say you and I were planning something for both of our families to do together, but it was just you and me planning it. So as the 4-1 and the 1-3, how would we go about I don't know, something in the park, or we're going to the amusement park together, and our kids are all, we all got boys, and we're gonna meet up and do this. How would we go about that as the 1-3 generator and the 4-1 projector?
So first and foremost, it would be you responding to life, saying, I want to go to the park and do this thing. I'm going to invite Victoria and her family. So as a projector, I need to be recognized and invited in. It always goes smoothly when I am the one being asked to do something. And so knowing I'm going to invite Victoria, and I'm like, my dad would joke that I'm like a dog at the front door, just waiting for an invitation, for invitations. And I don't have the energy to my husband, even now, he's like, can you just plan stuff with families? I'm like, I need to be invited in. I don't know why you're not listening. I can't. It's it's not the proper energy for me. And so for me and you, it would be you understanding I'm going to initiate this because I'm inspired to do it. It feels like I want to do this. It feels really exciting. I'm going to bring Victoria along because she's a good time. And then I make it I amplify it, right? It's my God, where are we going to go? And we should invite these other people. So it kind of allows the energy to kind of bubble up and spill over when we're both in alignment with our strategies. So you are here to respond to life. You may see something on TV that's coming up this weekend, and you're like, ooh, I want to go. And then knowing me, I'm a projector, you're like, I'm going to invite so-and-so because I need to be invited in, right?
Right.
And so if we're going to plan something as a family or to do something together, it's I'm going to extend that invite to Victoria. Of course, not every invite is a good invite, right? We have to discern with our awareness, but that would be kind of the initiation of the event. And then I love tagging along with line 3s and sacral beings because they're just I don't know, let's just get into shit and do it. It's so it's fun for me because I'm what are we going to do now?
But it's funny that you say that because I actually do like to plan, but I find that for myself, there's something where it's so I'm a walking contradiction in that sense, right? Because I do like to plan, but if the plans appear too overwhelming to me, then it's just oh my God, that's a lot. I don't know if I want to do all that. Whereas if it's
mental energy, that might be your Kolbe coming in. And so
because I like to more go with the flow, but I'll tell you, I'm a planner with time. To me, if I'm 5 minutes early, that's almost late. I don't like being late. It stresses me out.
I'm like, what is time? It's made up.
Yeah. You Pisces, oh my God. Like my wife, and I'm sure you, like, Pisces are just like, time? Like what? And like that literally makes me crazy. And
Yeah.
so for me, like, I know I made an adjustment before I knew any of this, like with one of my, like, a Sagittarius friend. If we were meeting at Central Park at 3 p.m., I would tell him, let's meet at like 2:45.
Yeah.
So I'd show up at like 2:52,
Yeah.
and he
And
would
he would be
still
there.
get there like right at 3.
Yeah.
But then it didn't stress me out because I told him 2:45, and we were supposed to meet at 3. You know what I mean? So I had to learn that though, because if
Yeah.
I said 3, he'd be there at 3:15, and I'd be there at 2:50, and I'm sitting there waiting for like 25 minutes. Like, oh my gosh, like this is
Yeah.
absurd. So
Yeah.
I
Well, there's
but I
different
figured
parts.
that out on my own.
Yeah. And there's different parts of our mind, right? There's different parts of our psyche, and there's different parts of our subconscious patterns. And for you, it almost sounds like you value time, right? And you're a Virgo too. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like you have this order of things. And
Yes.
so, part of it is astrology. Part of it is, I always look at it as like your human design is first, right? Your astrology and human design is first. It's like who you be. And then it's once you're initiated into aligned action, your Kolbe kicks in and says, how am I going to get this done? Right. So you may have an accommodating follow through, which means I can plan, but it's not my first go to. And so it's not something that drives you all the time. Your mental energy, if you have to stay in planning mode, would exhaust you.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. Like all the family trips, my wife, plans it out.
Yeah, my husband does all that. Like, no, thank you. But it's interesting because his Kolbe really doesn't support it, but his values and his interests do, right? So we have all of these different components where we can't just like put somebody in a box to say, oh, you're a quick start, which means you can't keep anything stable, right? It's like, well, no, it just depends on what it is and where it's applied. And,
right.
I think for the most part, these systems just give us a glimpse into the subconscious realms to give us awareness for ourselves and others.
That's beautiful. So back to your chart though. You have the Scorpio South Node, and it's kind of, in a trine to your Sun and Mercury in Pisces. Do you find, and I guess this is kind of a weird way to ask this, do you feel more like an empath or more like a psychic intuitive, or a combination of both?
Yeah.
And then how do you feel that it gets integrated into your life or daily practice, or your routines?
So the answer is yes to both of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I basically have claircognizance. And so, like, I had a client over one day, and she went through a balance, and I was thinking, like, she was having anxiety around driving, but she also had this rather difficult relationship with her mom. I forget what there's a specific diagnosis where a certain sound will send you into like a rage, or like it'll trigger you. And so she had this with her mother, and
Right.
which is a really difficult situation, right? To feel that way around your mom. And so we worked through her mom's stuff, but then she also brought up she has driving anxiety. And so she did this balance around her anxiety around driving. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's because she's not in the driver's seat of her own life, because she's always looking for her parents' approval. And And she came out of her balance, and she said, whoa, that was weird. And I go, yeah, it's almost like you weren't in the driver's seat of your own life. And she's like, wait, did you put that thought in my head? And I was like, no, I got that from I just was tapping into your own energy, and like that came from you, right? Like, so it's hard almost for me to discern, like, where am I getting this information from, and who is it? And I'll be in like random places. I remember I was at Last Chance, and I came up to my friend, and I was like, whoa, why do you have so much anxiety? Like, what's going on? And she's like, I know, I feel like I just had like a cup of coffee. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And this lady behind us, we're like, wait, what did you guys just say to each other? And I was like, oh, I can feel her anxiety, right? Like, so I physically feel people's energy and emotions,
Well,
but I also get knowing. And so simultaneously.
Was it stronger though when you were younger, or have you felt it increase as you've gotten older?
Um,
I guess it's hard when you're younger, you're not always understanding it,
I
but
think, well, no, I think I felt it. I just thought it was mine. So
okay,
as I
that
got
makes
older, I
sense.
realized, oh, wait, all of this emotional energy is actually not mine. And that gave me that permission to be like, because I have an open emotional solar plexus where you haven't defined. And so I'm tapping into that emotional energy and I'm like a sponge. And so my whole life, I just thought I was like super sensitive, but it turns out I'm actually not sensitive at all.
Yeah, no.
It was just that like I was absorbing everybody else's
Well,
emotion.
right. And so that's what I would say. Looking at your chart, I would say, Victoria, when you are out and about in public, you are like an antenna, right? You're an energy sponge.
Yeah.
So you need to, when you come back home, right? You need to, number one, wash your hands, probably wash your face. But if you're not going back out, I would actually recommend for you to actually like put on your house clothes or
Well,
something
that's what I
else,
do.
because you're pulling in
Yeah.
all the energy from other people. So you may be sitting at home and feel all these different emotions that are so not yours.
Right.
And that's also because the Pisces Sun and Mercury in the second house of the five senses. So you have like a super sixth sense. You're always in the spiritual realm. The Neptune in the 12th house, the Scorpio South Node in the 10th house. It's like, and you can also pull into the collective. So like sometimes like things that go on in Russia, Ukraine, or, Israel, Palestine, or all the senseless, slave labor in the Congo, you can like pull that in and feel that sometimes and be like, oh my gosh, like, ooh, it's not good,
Yeah, I can't watch the news for that.
No, and nobody should.
Deadliest Catch. Like I was watching Deadliest Catch with my husband one day and I started crying and he was like, what is going on? I'm like, can you not see his pain from like not being accepted from his father? And he was like, what? That's all he wants, is to be loved by a father.
Oh my God, that is comedy.
He's like, you're crazy. But it's because I feel into anything that I'm around or see, right?
Now let me ask you though, do you feel that from any of your siblings, similar energy to you, or mom or dad, or is this sort of just kind of your energy? Is it in the lineage as well?
My dad he's more of a premonition person.
Okay.
He's always been he has very vivid dreams that come true. And he's kept us out of a lot of danger because of it.
Oh,
and
wow. That's great.
So from his side, I think that intuition, that the dreaming part is really, I think, from his lineage. My mom is very connected emotionally.
Okay.
So it's almost like my mom had the emotional IQ
and he had more of the
spiritual.
spiritual.
So I think I kind of got both a bit. But like her mom and her my great grandma came over from Austria during World War II. Like they didn't have the capacity to be like, how's everybody feeling? Like, are we all good? Like, you know what I mean? Like they were like, we're getting out of here and this is survival. And like, so love really wasn't shown.
Right.
That environment.
Yeah.
And so my mom, I think, kind of overcompensated and was very emotionally attuned and sensitive to anything that was going on with me, at least. My sister's 7 years younger, so we had very different upbringings.
Right, definitely.
And so we're kind of only children in a kind of a sense. But she's a 1-3 emotional generator like you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know my energy well.
I know your energy. Yeah,
really
her
cool.
and my son and you are the same.
Wow.
And so that's been a learning experiment for me because I want to guide and I want to teach, but you guys are in your own experiment and you have to find your own truth. And so that's been interesting.
Right. So as we get ready to wrap up, I just want to ask you this because that's fascinating to me. So in some way, if I met your sister or your son, 1-3 generate, like when 1-3 generators meet each other, is there like kind of like this like recognition? You know what I mean? Like we're kind of just around each other and we're like, oh wow, like yeah, like you get it, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like
it's like you guys experience life in the same way.
yeah,
And so you're going to have a lot in common. It's not only that you have your profile in common, it's that you have your intuition in common. You have the way that your energy in common. So 70% of your energy is very similar. And so
wow, okay,
it's really the nuances that are in your chart of the gates and the channels you have and the definitions and whatnot, but that would set you apart as far as like, as far as that goes. But when you talk about, you know, I always think about that quote from Jerry Maguire. He's like, "You complete me," you know. I think about the gates in our
That's
human
so funny.
design.
I used that in a play that me and my buddy wrote, just
Did
that
you?
one line. Yeah. And I worked with her, Renee Zellweger, on this movie with William Hurt and Meryl Streep. And I told her that, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's so funny!" Because me and my buddy wrote it, and I explained it to her, and she was so sweet, so really nice woman. And when I explained the whole thing to her and how we did it, she was like, "Oh my God, that's so great!" And she loved it.
I
So
love
that's so funny that you're actually referencing this right now.
There goes my claircognizance, though, right? Like it's
Yeah,
like
you
I don't know,
complete me. Yeah.
and even saying, like, no, you should be a lawyer. Like it just comes out. And so, anyway, I think about the gates and how, like, we all have hanging gates, right? And so it's why certain people are attracted to each other. It's why certain people are like more kind of somebody brings out the best in you, somebody
Yeah.
brings out the worst in you. It's
Right.
because of the way that those electromagnetic channels or those conflict channels are created within your chart, that really, I mean, you could go down a big rabbit hole,
Right. Right.
like, but it just gives you more context into, like, once you connect into someone, you're activating certain energies between your two charts and you're creating new energy together, right? So for us, like, we have I think 1, 2, 3, 4 different kind of electromagnetic channels that are created between us. One of them is acceptance, concentration, transformation, and the money line.
Mm.
And so if you look at those, the channel of acceptance is this energy of shock and initiation. So we have the potential to share stories and experiences that are raw and deeply personal.
Right.
So when we're in each other's aura and we're communicating, we're sharing deeply personal experiences, and it could feel vulnerable. It could
Good.
feel like taking people through these moments of challenge and
Right.
change, and really, but it's all in effort to kind of transform them, right?
Right.
And so
Wow.
then
That's
we have this channel of concentration, so the ability to focus and break down complex strategies into clear, digestible things, right? It's like you and I have like all of these, like, and human design and astrology and
well,
code.
no, and I was gonna say, so just so you guys know, like Victoria and I have only spoken over the phone. We've never actually met in person, and we have to do that
Yet.
soon, and we will. But each time that we've spoken, I always felt like we talked for a long time, but I felt like we could have just kept talking for even way longer. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's what's so funny about that when you say that, because like, yeah, like it's like there was just like this instant, and I wonder so much it must be like that one line, but it was just like we just got each other right, and we got connected through our friend Amanda,
Yeah.
and it's just so fascinating. But we like instantly, it was just like blah, 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 and it was like it could just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. So
really cool.
it's fun when I hosted a bridal party for my best friend this summer, and I looked at, her and her husband and then together, and then I looked at the date of their wedding as this kind of third entity, and
Oh,
it was such a beautiful
alignment.
alignment and experience, and to give them the conscious knowledge of, like, this is who Jocelyn is and these are her gifts, and this is who Peter is and this is his gifts, and when you're together these are your gifts, but then your marriage, when you step into your marriage, it has a totally different energy, and these are the gifts of that energy, right? And it really felt really nurturing. And she's a projector, he's a manifesting generator, so it's important to know, like, your projectors aren't going to keep up with you, like, like your manifestors, they need naps, they need to rest, they need to just sit around and like do nothing. And it looks like doom scrolling, but it's like that's how they relax. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's so funny. Wow. God, this okay, this is amazing. So, like for example, I've already invited you guys because I listen right really well. I've already invited, and she's accepted. Victoria will come back to join us live coming up. I think we scheduled in December, so that's going to be awesome, right? And so, as we wrap up, I want you to share your information again with everybody to connect with you, but also let the audience know if they are curious and they don't know, if they feel stuck, you know, do they go on your site and is it booking one thing, or do you just kind of apply based on what their needs are, all these modalities? How does that work in terms of ordering services? If somebody just wanted a PSYCH-K, or do you kind of combine and all of them anyway? Just share that and all your information again with the audience.
Yeah. So my website's therapidrenegade.com. I'm on Instagram and TikTok primarily.
I got to follow you on TikTok, even though I don't really like TikTok.
I cause a lot of havoc over there on TikTok, I'll say, but it's fun. So constantly challenging people. Anyway, it's like my playground. As far as services go, so I have Rapid Release, which is kind of that primarily subconscious change, emotional release, really kind of cleaning up the clutter. If you're really overwhelmed and you feel stuck, it's a really good place to start because it actually creates more just peace within your system and more brain capacity to be a creative problem solver. Right. Rapid Rise is my 3 to 6 month program where we really go into all of the assessments and we look at the energies and we're using subconscious change, and it's a little bit more structured in the way of like, I'm doing an education session with you and I'm walking you through your Kolbe and I'm walking you through your human design. And then we're using those as blueprints moving forward. And it's kind of more like,
so that's real deep. Like people can really absorb it and learn.
Yeah. And really it's built for those people that are really ready to take the next step, investing in themselves, really quickly getting into alignment and creating that internal belief system that will help them transform in the fastest way possible. It is meant for people who want a profound transformation in a short amount of time.
Yeah. And that's 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Anywhere between 3 to 6 months. It really just depends on the person. Right. And I always give free discovery calls because I don't like to prescribe something, and I don't think it's very simple to kind of navigate. So I always encourage people to book a free discovery call. You can do that on my website if you have questions and whatever. And then I have, I'm just rebranding the Kolbe stuff into Rapid Results. And so that's going to be more for kind of corporate stuff. If you have a leadership team, if you want to start instituting really clear communication strategies within your organizations, that's kind of another route. But that Rapid Rise really kind of culminates everything together. It talks about your spiritual gifts of your blood type, your human design, your Kolbe, your subconscious programs. It looks at attachment style. And so we kind of get into all of the nuances of who you be and start untangling some of those threads and really getting down to the root cause of what is keeping you stuck and how can you come into more alignment. And it's a fun program, but it's limited to, I can't take so many people. So it's like, it's a limited program, but I'm going to be doing it every 3 to 6 months.
That is so awesome. You are definitely dancing in all your charts and being of great servitude to the collective. And this has been so much fun. And I can't wait already to have you back on in December live, because I know as people watch this, they're going to be like, whoa, I got to ask her XYZPQ. So thank you so much. This has been so awesome. And you guys, listen, always like, share, and subscribe. Reach out to the Rapid Renegade. Victoria is a wealth of knowledge in the physical and in the spiritual realm. All that Pisces Aries energy, I love it. And I just thank everybody for watching episode 247 of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. So actually, before we say goodbye, any message of inspiration for the collective or anything?
Yeah, I think, you know, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be so hard. I think that's something that it feels counterintuitive. You know, we try so much, we learn so much, we try to set goals and we try to do, you know, and I think the more you come into alignment with who you are and the more you shed what's not yours, it becomes really easy. And it's really like we are built to be co-creators and in flow. And so I think if we can say anything is that it doesn't have to take a lot of time, energy, resources, and money to do that. It really just requires you to have the willingness to try those tools that resonate with you and really try to integrate as much as you can so that you can be the best version of yourself. So
I love that. And that is the best way to end, because this is Knowledge is Love, Astrology podcast. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you. This was so fun.
All right. Bye.